in YouTube and Facebook, and I can't wait to um, introduce you to Suzanne Henwood. Firstly, we're it's a pop-up summit, and it's all about NeuroCreative Leadership Live, which is um, the idea of bringing in the idea of creativity and leadership and managing our minds and our neuroness, our neuroness. We're becoming responsible for our own habits, beliefs, choices, thoughts, and how we lead our lives. We don't have to be. I didn't have to. I don't. I didn't have to learn how to communicate and stand on a stage and say, "Hey, I'm a leader." But it really I was drawn to it because it was my struggles in life. So that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this now. But we don't have to learn to stand on a stage to be a leader in our lives. You know, mothers, fathers, and we all get to lead in some way, shape, or form, especially if we're just doing this self-care. So all of these pieces of the puzzle, I believe we get to be neurocreative leaders in our lives, and some of us are more challenged with our histories and divergences. And so, if you are here, thanks for being here, and I can't wait to delve into this topic around the mind model deep dive, which is something that I've put together as one of the core pillars of neurocreative leadership to understand our minds. And can't wait because Dr. Suzanne Henwood here is, well, let's just say I've handpicked especially all the speakers in this pop-up summit for their absolute dedication and passion and purpose in the world. And they've recognized it in me in some way, and I've learned so much just from their presence of and the way that they go about being so passionate about what their work does and how it helps others as well. So this heart-centered approach to life and work and dedication. So without further ado, um, would you like to firstly, I'm going to ask a question and you can bring in who you are and what you do around it too. So this question is, what is your favorite topic overall that it don't have to have you can have lots more, but just one that comes to mind intuitively, that's one of the things that's like a glue for you in life and work that kind of helps you to be who you are in the world with your work and what you do, if that makes sense. And then you can bring in who you are and what you do with that as well.
Yeah, beautiful. My intuitive response would be what I love doing, what I focus on, what gets me up in the morning is being real about how we're each so complex and exquisitely unique. And the world seems to try to fit us into a box, a cookie cutter approach. And so my kind of passion is breaking out of those boxes, old definitions that no longer work, and saying, when are we going to actually start to meet one on one with the exquisite, unique individual we're within that moment? And whether that's as a leader, as a coach, as a parent, as a friend, we are losing connection with ourselves and with each other as time goes on. So, yeah, that's what drives everything I do. In terms of who I am, then, I am a coach, I'm a trainer, I'm a speaker, I'm an author. But really, it's just using different mechanisms for getting that message out and also generating conversation and discussion around that. My view is just one view. I'm reading an amazing book at the moment called Consciousness by Seth Anil. And a piece I was reading last night said there are as many forms of consciousness as there are human beings on the planet. And I just thought that summed it up so beautifully that we all assume there's a similarity. We all assume people are like us. We all assume that if we think something, say something, someone else agrees. And when they don't, it creates discomfort and difficulty. And I think the world's strength, human strength, is the diversity. And we try and dampen it down. Does that kind of vaguely answer the question and also say who I am?
You did. Well done. Yes. Thank you. And yes, I really hear that, and I love the word mechanisms, because that and the unique what I call it, let's call it unique wiring as well. Unique wiring is an easy way for to be able to someone to go, oh yeah, uh I'm wired this way, or I have mechanisms of and noticing that potentially they're two different things. One is wiring, one is a mechanism. One, the wiring fires the mechanism, and or vice versa. And yeah, yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that. And
And getting away from there's so many lovely, beautiful people out there who don't fit in. And because they're lovely and beautiful, their immediate response is, it must be me. I'm wrong. I'm broken. I'm not right because I'm wired differently, or I behave differently, or whatever it is. And we're quick to put that self and embrace the diversity. The world doesn't kind of encourage us to embrace that diversity. And I think it's time we did.
amazing, amazing, amazing. Yeah, yeah. Um, what is it about that, again, that favorite topic of yours, and that has helped you in a time realizing what you wanted to do?
It's been a journey and unraveling. I've been, um, in my background, I was in healthcare. I was an associate professor in healthcare. I never really fitted in that academic box. I was always a bit of a different style of academic. I moved from that into being a coach and running my own business. I never quite fitted into the coaching boxes. I didn't necessarily fit within any one definition or model of coaching. So for me, it's about how do I, because there's a risk in this. You can get mavericks out on their own that are dangerous. And then you can get people who are beautifully different, who have so much to offer. So that there's this balance. And for me, using my academic background, I've spent 30 years probably training in a variety of different coaching modalities, and still then coming to the end of it going, but nothing quite matches who I am, would meet the need of me if I was a client. And so I've gone and developed my own model, which is called Be Wise. The B having a play on that, it's about ontology, it's about being, living, thriving, excelling. And wisdom is what's right for you in the moment of time and the context within which you're working, taking into account the experience you've been through in the past. It'll be unique, it'll be your wisdom. Having said that, I'm also still learning the wider connectivity, the the fact that we cannot live in isolation. We are impacting everybody around us. We're impacting the environment around us, and the environment's impacting us. And moving to New Zealand has been a whole wealth of other learning about the mountains, the rivers, the forests as real intelligence in their own right, that now is also included in me working out my wisdom. So sometimes I will go and ask a tree for wisdom, which 10, 20 years ago, I would have thought someone doing that was barking mad and not scientific in any way, shape, or form. So it is an evolving journey. I'm delighted with where I'm at, and I'm sure it will keep evolving because we're still learning about the world, about the human body, we don't know it yet. We're scratching the surface still. So I'm not going to pretend I have all the answers or I know exactly what's right for any of my clients, but I'm really happy to have a juicy conversation about what their world is like and what's working for them and what's not, and how we can dip into some of the tools that may or may not be useful. And if they're not, we scrap them and we pick another one.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, that's really great to hear because it feels like sometimes I feel like technology is just only catching up with how I can actually express myself, so I can actually get on with relating to others. And what you're sharing there is the other technology, the age-old technology of nature being there already, and us, we're only just catching up potentially with that or as a concept.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
um but yeah, when you said about uh not pretending to know everything, or knowing enough in some way, shape or form, um that was really interesting to hear. And I want to, for anyone listening, I want to allude a little bit into that when Suzanne says that she's a trainer and a coach, I want to make sure that, because we can say we're studying stuff and doing stuff, but I want to make sure that everyone realizes that of what the level of what Suzanne means about that she actually trains coaches in amazing cutting edge um, ways that still evolve. And so I know that you're very modest about these things, Suzanne. So I want to make sure that that people know that the level of what you're helping people with, from the family tree, standing where you stand, and hold yourself accountable regardless of what anyone else is saying it should be about. Or so yeah, I really commend you on that. So thanks for being here.
you. Yeah, I think one of the real risks of today is that there is a lot of knowledge. Like, I read a statistic the other day that the amount of knowledge on the planet is doubling every 12 hours. So by default, even if you'd say, well, within my subject area, there is no way you can know everything that exists. It's just not possible. So you want to put out an expert model, an expert course. You want to have something that's valuable and functional for sure. And in my model, I believe that should all have a good research evidence behind it. It should be well substantiated and credible, and it should also be up to date, which in the current world really is within the last 2 years. So anyone who is writing a course, running a course, that wrote it 10, 15 years ago, that course has not been updated, controversially, I would say, don't go near it. It's out of date. And some of the stuff, because it's so out of date, is actually inaccurate now. That puts a huge responsibility on trainers. If they express that to walk the talk, how do you then ensure that your course is updated annually? And how do you ensure anyone that's trained with you in the past is also updated? Because under your brand, they're out there saying they're using your material, but it might be 3, 5 years old because that's when they did the course. So I guess one of the biggest differences that I am creating, providing, is absolutely, excuse me, my course is updated regularly with the latest material. I'm constantly reading, discussing, listening to others. But also, once you have trained with me as a coach, you have free ongoing access to all the updated materials. So it will be updated in the vault, as I call it. And yes, you've got the responsibility of going and looking at that after your training, but it is there for you in the hope that we can have a credible approach that is appropriate in today's world.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. The next three questions can be like quite quick fire, but in this day and age, we're not. This is not a normal summit. We're not doing the uh, throw as much value as possible
Yeah.
and overloading. So I'm encouraging every speaker to slow down actually rather than speed up around that and come up with some kind of golden nugget from their intuition
No.
pathways. And so it could be just a word, it could be a bullet point, a phrase, or and a sentence that has some context to it, or around a minute per question for the next three would be awesome.
Okay.
And if that requires whatever you want to do to listen in, you do that in the way you want to. Um, so the first one, knowing again about the unique wiring, but thinking about it from a perspective of just becoming aware of your own unique wiring, and the way you perceive yourself at this time in life, what would you say is your favorite go-to self-care thing as a thing that you just love to do that fills you up every day or as and when you need?
Yeah, really easy one for me because self-care is central. So it's a three-prong approach: breathing, rocking, and psychosensory touch havening. So I would be doing all three at the same time. And in a very short space of time, I come back to regulation, grounded, focused, alert.
Amazing. Love it. Love that. That's so clear, and I was immediately in there going, ah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's great to hear. And the second one is I'm going to say five words that are innate human powers that we have when we are in that space, in that power. We can't be in judgment mode of ourselves or others. We can only be present to that power and how that can actually help us grow or help someone else grow. And so I'll say them and see which one lands for you as a as one that is most prominent in terms of would be your go-to, but also helps you at this time that you want to grow with as well. And so, first one, as it lands, is empathy. The second one, curiosity. The third one, creativity. The fourth one, navigation. And the fifth one, activation. And to activate being having an idea and executing straight away on it, or planning it in a navigating way, but at that moment of seeing yourself doing it and making it happen and doing it in that sense. So the more intermotor movement action. So which one for
And I'm
you?
only allowed one.
Well, and they do blend into each other a lot, but
They
I'm
do.
sort of separating it out just so that if there's one that's most prominent for you that you know that is going to help you and why.
Okay. So going personal to me, my unique wiring, my unique way of being, and I guess partly from being an academic in the background, my head brain is very dominant. So curiosity would be the word I would pick because it allows me to take that in multiple directions. So curiosity opens the door to what am I not familiar with? What do I not yet know? What else could I do? Curiosity about what else is out there. We talked about wider wisdom, super consciousness. However, and breaking outside of boxes again, because that's what I do and I'm a cheater. There's a couple of other bits that need to be there for that curiosity to be effective. And one is about acceptance and belonging, both of myself and by others, in order to be, the other one, safe to be curious. So it's a little bit of a cheeky way of going, I'll pick your word, curiosity. But because we live in this complex world, there needs to be, and you're right, the others I could talk about, all of the other beautiful words. Navigation was another one that kind of spoke to me, but I can't navigate if I'm not safe. I can't navigate if I'm not curious about where I'm going. Yeah,
Amazing.
curiosity would be the one I pick with those little caveats on them.
Excellent. Love it. With that said, there's the third question. Um, and it leads into the what creativity and leadership means to you in how you create in your day and lead in your day, and what that means to you and why for you.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge we have as human beings at the moment is the rapid and extreme change we're facing. And so, whereas in the past, we might have led by looking at role models, looking at who else has done this before, where else has it been done, where's it been successful, that doesn't exist now. We are literally at that kind of front end of the navigation, having to find our own way. How we do that is instrumental to the impact we leave on the world, our leadership. And again, that might be in family, in relationship, in work, in whatever it is you do. I'm not talking about CEO type leadership. And there's a huge responsibility with that, and there's a huge opportunity with that. That actually we are the humans on the planet at this point in time. There is no one else, it's only us, and we can make those choices that is effectively the leadership about where the planet goes next. I'm not going to go political. I'm not going to name names. We could do so much better at it.
Thank you. That's great to hear. Ah, and to wrap it up in some ways, but also actually cover what we were going, what the talk's about is the reason why it's called the mind model from one perspective on this neurocreative leadership approach that I suggest is like seeing that it's not one person, it's seeing a set of principles that potentially people can pick and choose from when they feel like they need it. And one of them being this idea of the mind being multi-intellectual neurodivergence. And that means that it's because it's multi-intellectual that we're experiencing uh, imprints of intellect and intelligence of stories from the past where we picked that up and made it a belief. And so there's this sort of external fingerprint that's been stuck on us in our nervous systems. Then there's how we process that intelligently with the heart brain, for feelings, the head brain for making meaning, and the gut brain for taking either eat or run away, digest the ideas or um run away from them. and so and so even with this body intelligence, when it's what's being processed and where and how all the time, and then the idea of this super consciousness that whereby we might get a synchronistic moment, or is where are we sharing ideas somehow like ants do to build things. They're not talking, but they are. They're not talking out of their mouths, unless they are. They're really, really, really high frequency, and they're chatting away. Maybe they are. Maybe that's the thing. They can all do that, and we can't hear it. So, but yeah. So, but that point being of like that there's multi angles on this, and that's why we can in this time when there's more and more information, like you were saying, that it can be triggering one thing will trigger another thing straight away, and it's like non-stop, like making meaning, trying to decipher it all. And then you've got the Wi-Fi in the air with all this information, and whether is that like is that something that we can pick up on or not, or some people can. It's very fascinating, and so so with all of that, I'm curious as to what lands for you and what you're bringing with your unique value in the world and your gifts and your strengths.
Yeah, it's a huge, huge complex systemic model. And I think what we try and do as human beings is break it down into silos to understand it. And I get why we do that. It's kind of necessary in a way. We talk about the head brain as if it's separate, the heart brain as if it's separate. They're not separate at all. They are interrelated and constantly in touch and constantly impacting on each other. And so where I've gone with it is I'm calling it advanced coaching because it is moving beyond. It's for people who are okay and able to move into that space of not knowing and learning how to hold safe and what I call sacred space so that you can explore all the components of the system without having to come to a conclusion and without trying to absolutely separate them off from each other. So my current model works to 12 intelligences, and I'm sure there are more. Some of which I'm going to make it really easy for the sake of this is I split those into 3 categories basically. One of which is the intelligences within the body. You've named some of them. There's more. I've got 7 intelligences I'm actively working within the body. Some of them are outside. We've mentioned some of those already. We've mentioned the social, the environment, the super consciousness, universe, whatever. So there's those 2 components. The third one might raise a little bit of a, oh, never thought of that for some people, is the between. Is the between is not an empty space. The between and the connection between has wisdom in its own right as well. We talk about quantum entanglement as if it's 2 bodies, but the space is, they've discovered, it's not empty space, it's quantum foam, they're calling it. So within, without, and between is my model across which at the moment I'm working with 12 intelligences. What that means in practice, it's not a process to follow because everyone will be different. It's about raising consciousness of each of those 12 and whatever else is out there we're not aware of yet, so that we can tap into as wide a level of intelligence and wisdom as we can. Now, that is a challenge because people will say, well, what questions do I ask in coaching? Which order do I do them in? And of course, we discuss all of that in the course materials. But fundamentally, there is no one right order or no one right set of questions. The skill of Be Wise coaches is that they sit with that exquisite, unique individual and trust their wisdom and intelligence and consciousness as to what to ask. Having said all of that, I don't want this to look like, oh, so you're just doing whatever comes at a moment. No, because you've done the exquisite study of the foundational principles of each of those intelligences. So it's not ad hoc, it's absolutely credible and foundational. I talk about 9 foundational principles on which the whole structure sits. So I hope that gives a little bit of a sense of the enormity, the complexity of what we're handling, bringing it as much as possible into a functional model people can use. And the changes and transformations we're seeing are phenomenal, but not in a traditional coaching sense of goals based. I'm here. I want to get here. Here's my head based plan to get from A to B. The real transformations I think of, the clients I think of, are people who have come to me maybe with an issue or a problem to start with, but the work we've done at the Be Wise level has changed their ontology, their way of being. Like everything shifts. Could they say which goal they've worked on or what specific action plan they've put in place? Probably not. But their level of self awareness has moved them into a different way of living and leading in the world. That's a challenge to traditional coaching models. And it's a challenge I'm happy to lead.
Fantastic. I love it. I love it. I love it. Um, Thank you so much,
My pleasure.
Suzanne, Dr. Suzanne. So, it's what I'm hearing there is a magnitude of why it's important to break things down to build them back up again in new ways, continually, and that you're um doing that in a fantastic way. And so and so that there's I love the word call to action, and it's not about just typical marketing speak, bringing in the idea of a call to action when it's either going to be a call to action from the leader perspective of being responsible to make the invite and in the first place, otherwise nothing may change or not when someone might be needing to be invited. And so there's that side of the call to action. The other side of that is the call to action to hear something in what someone has said, and so when we have that realization that we didn't hear something, there is a call to action within that, even if it's like a call to just reflect on it and remember it for later. So anything that's even been noted here, if you're watching, give a little comment and a ripple effect, because if you found something fascinating and you just share your one word highlight or your highlight or your three page paragraph sentence, and you want to share it and learn by what, as soon as you repeat, when you have a call to action and we actually take action on it, we are more likely to get instant feedback again from wherever the intelligences are coming from. And so that sense of um yeah, highlights, questions, comments, anything like that, it's gold, and it's not there just because I want to share this more. I'm passionate and I do want to share this more as well. So please do that too. But it's for ourselves to recognize when it's also that it's okay when there's refusal. It's like, oh, I didn't get anything from that. That's okay. That's not a call to action. So you don't have to. But if there's a sort of sense of resistance, that can be an automated process of resisting some fear of the unknown to take an action based, and just to notice those things. I really encourage, that's the inquiry. That's the real goal, where when we come present to that and we notice those patterns in ourselves, we can then go, okay, I was resistant to asking that person something. What was that about? And so if that's the case, notice those things, and that is a call to action in itself. So with saying all that, we wrap it up. But at the same time, Suzanne, what call to action do you have for the listener if they've been fascinated about what you've been sharing?
Yeah, I guess on two levels. One is, as you're saying, which of those intelligences are you curious about? Which ones are you already using that do dominate your life? Um, which ones are you maybe ignoring and leaving out? When I said hug a tree, would you even dream of doing that? Would you go and talk about wisdom out in the environment? So, yeah, my first call to action is to reflect on your own life, your own use of those intelligences, and just see if anything comes up for you that you're not using one, or even you haven't even heard of some of them and wouldn't know how to access them. So your consciousness is not even there on them. The second is if you are genuinely interested in it, I'd love to be in touch with you. Obviously, I run an advanced coaching course. You don't have to be a professional coach, but you need to be somebody who's got the basic skills of coaching, holding space, building rapport, and then you want to know more about getting outside of the old coaching box. I've been running a couple of free webinars. My next one, coincidentally, is tomorrow. If you click on the link, sign up. I know you're probably busy. If you can't make tomorrow, sign up and I'll send you the recording of it. And if you want the recording of the first one as well, that was a few weeks ago, let me know by getting in touch through my website and I can send you a copy of that one. The course starts 1st of March for the next cohort. There'll be 2 or 3 cohorts in the year. If you are curious about what else coaching can do, how else you can use it in life, in leadership, yeah, get in touch. Ask me those curly questions. Tell me what you know, so I'm constantly learning. And let's start a conversation.
Love it, love it. Thank you so much, Suzanne, for being here, Dr. Suzanne. So, um, finally, last wrap up word or topic that you've basically got from this conversation. What would you say it's been for you?
Curious. I'm going to put you one of your words back. Curious. Made me think of new things, made me contemplate how I voice things. Curious what else I'm not yet expressing.
Brilliant. I love it. I love that. Um, I got the why but nature's coming to mind. So this sense of nature, and when you mentioned about that, because the technology drives us to want to do more and be more with the technology of and all these different tools that are coming out, AI tools and lots of information, as you say. But what about nature? And so um I'm now thinking that because this has been a taster conversation in a lot of ways for one I want to do in May, NeuroCreative Leadership Live in May with more rigor and vigor for the approach to it all, to see what's been landing and get feedback on what this has been all about for everyone. And so based on that, what I'm hearing is curiosity and nature. So there's something we can talk about next time and go much more a bit of a longer session. So
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
amazing, amazing. Thanks for being here. It's Pop-Up Summit.
Yes, my pleasure.
And wonderful. So I will just say that we've got a wrap-up session on Monday evening UK time, 8 till 9:30 p.m. and that's available for any of the experts to come along. And if you want to join us on Zoom, that'll be a sign up as well through signing up for the whole summit series that you can watch for free until at least the February 21st, because it's pop up, no one knows much about it until we do the finale event on Monday next month, this Monday coming, and then there's an opportunity to watch all of the other videos until then. So if you are interested, I'll be putting the links to sign up for the rest of the summit in the comments, or just give us a wave. And there's, yeah, Suzanne's masterclass tomorrow, or watch the replay. We'll have the links to do all of that inside the summit dashboard too, eventually, very soon. All right. Thanks so much for being here again, Suzanne. We'll see everyone soon.